The fear of the unknown, making friends as an adult. The user group is people aged 20 to 35 who are struggling to meet people and make new friends. They were maybe very sociable in school, but now that they're out of school, they're having a harder time. They don't do sports or clubs much, and they don't have children, so they struggle to find opportunities to meet people with similarities. The type of fear I focused on is the fear of the unknown in relation to making friends as an adult. Whether that's not knowing if people will like you, not knowing what someone is going to be like, or not knowing what to say and do, the unknown is the main constant amongst the slightly varying types. Now, the definition of fear is an emotional response induced by a perceived threat, which causes a change in brain and organ function as well as in behavior. Fear can lead us to hide, to run away, or to freeze in our shoes. Fear may arise from a confrontation or from avoiding a threat, or it may come in the form of a discovery. However, for the use of this presentation, fear of the unknown will be defined herein as an individual's propensity to experience fear caused by the perceived absence of information at any level of consciousness or point of processing. AKA, fear is an emotion caused by a lack of information, hence fear of the unknown. The first claim I've made is that fear of the unknown is a fundamental fear. One of the earliest known direct written references to fear of the unknown, being the fundamental fear, is in H.P. Lovecraft's supernatural horror in literature. He writes, "The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown." The quote remains applicable today, with it implying that not knowing is the worst part of a distressing situation. My second claim is that fear of the unknown is what forms unrealistic fear, such as being more afraid of being in a plane than in a car. Surveys showed that most Americans feel safer in their cars than in an airplane, even though planes crash far less often than cars. Being behind the wheel of a car gives a person a sense of control, whereas in a plane someone else is at the control, and the passengers can't really alter their odds. Some people may say that the fear one feels when faced with making new friends and meeting new people is irrational. However, not having total control over the situation and the outcome is one of the motivators for that fear. My third claim is that fear of the unknown can drive people to act in a manner that is foreign to the way they usually are, such as isolating themselves or making snap judgments. This concept can be clearly understood in the Pulitzer Prize novel To Kill a Mockingbird, which is set in 1936 at the height of racial segregation in America. While this is an extreme example, Harper Lee's book does demonstrate the ways in which fear of the unknown lies behind the racism and the eventual false conviction of an innocent black man. In the story, the black and the white people of Maycomb fear one another greatly. They live in separate living quarters. The whites are in the northern parts of town, closer to amenities, while the black community lives near the town dump, the dirty parts of the town. The black people are afraid to live with the white people, and the white people are afraid to live with the black people. This fear creates hatred between one another. Fearing how someone may react to you wanting to be their friend or not knowing whether or not you'll be liked is what can end up resulting in the opposite from happening, and friendships will not be the outcome. People tend to put up walls for fear of being vulnerable and having to be open to potential judgment, and the truth that not everyone will like them. So my design concept is an app that's made for meeting people who have similar interests in the hopes of forming genuine friendships. So why did I decide to do an app for this? Adults in their early 20s to mid to late 30s are commonly in a period of life where things are constantly shifting, whether that's graduating uni, moving cities, or changing jobs. With changes like these can come the loss of friends or the need for more. However, the fear of the unknown can often hold people back. Making friends isn't as easy as it was as kids. We no longer feel we can simply go up to someone and offer to be friends. Not knowing how someone will react is why we don't go up to other people and say things like, "We both like the color yellow and cold brew coffee, let's be friends." We fear their reaction, and so we resist. Since I moved from the States, I had always thought about wanting to create a way for people to meet like-minded individuals and form genuine relationships and friendships. When we first started this assignment, I remembered the app concept me and my mom always tossed around whenever I would be complaining about how hard it was to meet people, especially when I first moved over and didn't have sources like a job or uni to find friends. Pushing this concept further for this assessment was a no-brainer, as not only did it represent a solution to the problem, but it was also something I was incredibly interested in. I decided to give myself a bit more of a challenge and go so far as to design the app, which I will run through later on. As for visual iterations, the logo for the app was the only real iterating I did, as I'd already developed the idea in the back of my mind over the last few years. At first, I thought I wanted it to be an exclusively female/female identifying platform, but realized that could end up cutting the list of potential friends for the users in half. Thus, I started with the name Girl Gang, but ended up changing it to FRND or Friend to make it more inclusive. So this is my design concept storyboard. So our storyboard starts with a 22-year-old girl named Tess who has just moved from Newcastle to Brisbane and has graduated from university a couple of weeks before. She's new to the city and doesn't know anyone there besides her boyfriend who she moved up with. She misses having a good group of girlfriends who have common interests and want to meet people but isn't sure how. She hasn't gotten a job yet either, so doesn't really have an easy way to meet people. She doesn't know what to do to make friends because it was always so easy as a kid. One day, she sees an ad on Snapchat for a new app called FRND. Curious as to just how well it might work, she downloads it and sets up her account immediately. Within 2 days, she's already getting notifications of having matched with other people in Brisbane who have similar interests to her. She can also use the app to see upcoming events around her that have to do with her interests, such as design exhibitions, concerts, cooking classes, and community meetups. She sees that one of her matches, Ella, who is an artist and has a few of the same interests, has clicked the I'm keen button for one of the events. It's a cocktail night and would totally be something Tess would have gone to back in Newcastle. She messages Ella and they end up planning to go together to the event that coming Friday. Fast forward to Friday night and Tess is having an awesome time. Her and Ella have a ton in common and get along heaps well. Thanks to FRND, Tess has made her first friend in her new city and is feeling confident that she'll meet even more as time goes on. This was a really familiar scenario for me as well, having moved countries. Because when I first came to Newcastle, the only person I knew was my boyfriend. And it was really daunting to try and make friends. And the first job I got was at a cafe where the other employees were a very close-knit group and were kind of unwilling to let anyone else in that inner circle. So even though I, eventually got a job, it did nothing to help me make friends. And it wasn't until I went to uni and, kind of started branching out a bit and going to things that I might have turned down in the past, but I was like, no, I have to go because I need to meet people. I need to make more friends. So it wasn't until I started really actively doing that I actually made friends. So I totally wish that this app had been around 2.5 years ago when I first moved, because it would have made making friends so much quicker and so much easier. So now I'm going to go ahead and run through the app. So to begin with, this is the page that you see when you first open it. And from there we can go into the login screen, which is like any other login screen. You just pop in your email and your password if you've already set up an account. So I'm going to quickly just log in and log back out really so you can see that. If you don't have an account yet, you can click don't have an account yet. And you're taken to the formal welcome screen. So this has a little description, kind of sales pitch type thing about the app. And this is also what you would see in the App Store when you went to download the app. So it says, forget everything you think you know about meetup apps. This isn't about stuffy execs in suits trading business cards, and this isn't one of those friend apps, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is an app made for people who either don't have the time or the opportunities to meet like-minded people and form genuine friendships. Whether you've just started a new job, recently moved cities, or simply wanting to freshen up your social circle, FRND is here to help. So let down those walls, drop any preconceived judgments, and get yourself out there. This is FRND. So let's get started. First, we're going to put in kind of the basic information that you put in when you're making an account with really any sort of platform, which is first name, last name, email address, password, and then just confirm the password. From there, we are going to start to tell the app a little bit about ourselves so that it has that information for making our matches. So age, gender, location, job, and a little blurb. I just said, hi, I just moved to Brisbane from Newcastle, love to meet people. I'm a designer, but I also run a blog. So next, we're going to go into the interest page, and this is where you're going to select your interests. And it's these interests that the app uses to find you matches, find you events that correlate with your interests, and a few other things that we will get into a little bit later on. So what it shows here is a trending list, and you can pick topics from that list, or you can add your own. So this list includes kind of broad ones like food or sports, but it also includes some really specific trending ones such as Fortnite. If there's no topics on this list that you're actually interested in, or you want to add more, then you can just add them down at the bottom and put in kind of more specific ones. Finally, this is the last step, which is just to upload a profile photo. And now we're all finished with creating our account. So the next screen you see is the home screen. So from here, you've got your settings, logout, you've got your, able to change your profile photo, and then you have these main 3 bars, which is Discover, Messages, and Events. So let's first go into Discover. Now in Discover, this is where you're going to see all of your matches, which are people that have similar interests as you. So you can see their age, their occupation, whereabouts they live, and then over here on the right is their interests that aligned with your interests. Going back to the homepage, we have messages, which is, as it sounds, just your messages, where you can communicate with your matches and really get the ball rolling on making those connections and those friendships and starting to learn a bit more about each other and hopefully make plans to meet up. And going back to the homepage, the bottom box here is events. And this was an element that I really want to include in this app. And also the part of it that probably makes it the most unique and really makes it kind of stand out from other apps within the same genre, like Tinder or Bumble or LinkedIn, kind of networking meetup apps like that. And this is also something that I so wish I had when I moved to Newcastle. Just, not only to meet friends and find events to go to with those friends, but just to find events to go to by myself. So here you see you've got a list of events that line up with your interests. But the coolest part is that when you go into the event, you can see your matches that are also interested in that event, which means that you now know that they want to go to that event, which saves that hassle of trying to figure out, are they going to want to go and do this with me? What if this isn't something that they're interested in? And it removes that little bit of fear of, making the wrong decision and suggesting the wrong thing, which is definitely a fear that becomes involved when you start to try and make new friends. It's this idea of, I want to do this, but what if they don't want to do that? And if they say no, then, they might not want to go and do it. And, it just makes you super anxious. So that was one of the parts about this app that I love the most. So from this page, you can click the I'm keen button, which then lets other people know that you might match with in the future, that you're also keen in that event. So, while you're messaging someone else saying, hey, let's go to this, someone else might be messaging you saying, let's go to this. Finally, on the home screen, we have the profile photo area where we can change our profile photo, and then we have settings. And this is where we can change the things that we put in when we first set up the app, like our location, if our job changes, if we want to change the bio, things like that. And then under this, you can also edit your interests because, interests totally change. And that way, it's easy to keep really flexible and keep changing them. And finally, the logout button, which obviously just logs you out of the app.